Hello friends and welcome to HitBullsEye. My name is Manish and this video is about the topic of the week. The topic of the week this time is not very pleasant. It is something that is a natural disaster which has taken thousands of lives. But from academic point of view, we should understand what is an earthquake, how does it happen, and why does it cause so much of destruction. So the topic of the week this time is the earthquake in Turkey. So as you can see, whenever we talk about an earthquake, all we can think of is destruction, which is exactly how it happens. So this time the earthquake has struck the Middle East, or that part of the world where Turkey has received the maximum amount of earthquake waves, and as a result maximum amount of destruction as well as loss of life and property has taken place in Turkey. So we will take a look at the earthquake in general. What is an earthquake? How does it happen? What is the phenomena behind it? And also we will take a specific look at the Turkish earthquake. Let's get started. First, to begin with, this is earthquake in Turkiye. Turkiye is the new name of Turkey. Some of you might be thinking that why isn't it Turkey? So Turkey was the old name of the country, but in 2022 it was changed to Turkiye, which is, according to them, it signifies the national aspirations of Turkey. Maybe it signifies their culture better. Just like we have renamed Bangalore as Bengaluru, something like that. So it's Turkey. So what is an earthquake? If we try to understand it in the simplest of terms, earthquake is a sudden movement of Earth's crust. So the surface of the earth is made up of three different layers. The topmost layer is the crust, then the middle one is mantle, and the inner one is core. Crust, mantle, and core. So when a portion of the earth's crust suddenly moves, it leads to earthquake. It produces a shaking or trembling, which we call earthquake. That is, in simplest terms, the meaning of earthquake. Now, in this, there are two terms which we need to understand. One is a focus and one is epicenter. Generally, students tend to use these two terms interchangeably, which should not be done. So, फोकस अलग चीज है, एपिसेंटर अलग चीज है. अगर हम इस डायग्राम को देखें तो ये दिस इज द इंटीरियर ऑफ द अर्थ, राइट? This is the interior of the earth. So this is where the surface is. Now, inside the earth's crust, the point where the exact location of the tremors starts, that is focus. So focus is the point where these vibrations originate. That point can be 100 kilometers inside the earth, 200 kilometers inside the earth, does not matter, but it is always inside the earth's crust. So that point is called focus. The focus is always inside of the earth because that is where the vibrations originate. तो focus होता है earthquake जो अर्थ सरफेस के अंदर, उस पॉइंट के एग्जैक्ट ऊपर लैंड पे वो पॉइंट जहां पे वो ट्रेमर्स सबसे पहले फील किए जाते हैं, दैट इज कॉल्ड द एपिसेंटर. The point of the earth surface directly above the focus is called epicenter. So focus के बिल्कुल ऊपर, लैंड के ऊपर जो पॉइंट है, इसे कहते हैं epicenter. So focus is inside the earth, epicenter is on the surface of the earth. तो हम अगर हम कह रहे हैं कि टर्की में अर्थक्वेक आया है, तो टर्की इज द एपिसेंटर. टर्की इज नॉट द फोकस. फोकस लैंड पे हो ही नहीं सकता. फोकस हमेशा लैंड या अर्थ सरफेस के अंडर होता है. सो टर्की इज द एपिसेंटर. वो हम देखते हैं अभी कि एग्जैक्ट एपिसेंटर क्या है, बट इट्स जस्ट दैट एपिसेंटर इज अ पॉइंट ऑन द सर्फेस ऑफ द अर्थ directly above the focus. So focus, epicenter. This is what you need to understand till here. So earthquake is sudden movement, then focus, then epicenter. Now if we talk about the epicenter of the Turkey earthquake, where did it originate? So this is basically the map of Turkey. And if you see here, so it was basically on the, so this line signifies the various plates of the geological plates. Like this is the Anatolian plate, Anatolian plate. This is the Arabian plate on which the entire Arab world is situated. तो जो earthquake का epicenter है वो यहाँ पर है, which is somewhere around the Turkey-Syria border. That is why a large part of devastation has also happened in Syria. लेकिन ज़्यादा नुकसान जो है वो टर्की में हुआ है. So this is where the exact epicenter lies. At the confluence of the Arabian plate and the Anatolian plate. इन दोनों plates के confluence के आसपास ये जो है हुआ है. And ये जो नीचे वाली plate है, this one, this is African plate. So in a way it's a trijunction, or a plate, the plate can be oceanic plate, it can be continental plate. तो यहाँ पे ये जो African plate है वो continental भी है, oceanic भी है part. तो African plate, Anatolian plate and Arabian plate तीनों का जो confluence है इसके पास इसका epicenter lie करता है. So this is up till here. Then talking about the way an earthquake happens. So this is a diagram which shows the way the waves of the earthquake travel. So when an earthquake happens, there are three types of waves that emerge from the focus. From the focus, the vibrations travel in different directions in the form of seismic waves. तो फोकस जो कि अर्थ सरफेस के अंदर है वहां से अलग अलग तरह की वेव्स अलग अलग डायरेक्शंस में जाती हैं. ये तीन तरह की वेव्स हो सकती हैं, पी वेव्स, एस वेव्स और एल वेव्स. पी वेव्स का मतलब है प्राइमरी वेव्स, एस वेव्स का मतलब है सेकेंडरी वेव्स और एल वेव्स का मतलब है लव वेव्स. प्राइमरी वेव्स, सेकेंडरी वेव्स, लव वेव्स. तो ये तीनों वेव्स अलग अलग तरह से अलग अलग डायरेक्शंस में ट्रेवल करती हैं. लेट्स टेक अ लुक अ बिट मोर डीपर. So broadly if we talk about the difference between primary waves and secondary waves, सबसे पहले हम देखते हैं पहला डिफरेंस क्या है. Primary waves are the first waves to hit the earth surface. As the name suggests, primary waves hit first. Secondary waves arrive after the P waves. They are secondary by their very name. ये इसमें पहला डिफरेंस है. दूसरा, प्राइमरी वेव्स ट्रेवल इन द स्पीड रेंज ऑफ 1.5 to 13 kilometers per second, which is quite high. So they travel really fast. Secondary waves are almost 1.7 times slower than primary waves. So it's like whenever an earthquake happens, first you feel a sudden vibration, but a few seconds after that, the actual destruction starts. So even though the speed of secondary waves is slower, the destruction is actually caused by the secondary waves. So primary waves जो है ये linear direction में travel करती हैं और S waves जो है ये transversal direction में travel करती हैं. This is the most important difference. And due to transversal direction, they cause a lot of destruction. Primary waves can travel through solid, liquid as well as gas. So no matter where you are on the planet, फोकस से जब भी वो वेव्स उठती हैं प्राइमरी वेव्स, तो वो हर तरह के मीडियम को क्रॉस कर जाती हैं एंड दे कॉज द फर्स्ट शॉक्स. सेकेंडरी वेव्स ऑन द अदर हैंड ट्रेवल ओनली थ्रू सॉलिड्स. दिस इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट डिफरेंसेस बिटवीन दीज टू वेव्स. दे ट्रेवल थ्रू ऑल द मीडियम्स बट secondary waves travel only through the solids. And according to a theory, the inner core of the earth is made up of liquid, liquid molten liquid lava or molten knife, basically nickel and ferrous. So the primary waves travel through that, but the secondary waves are not able to travel through that. So they dissect from that point, which I will show you in the diagram, right? So these are the major differences. Now if we look at the diagram once again, so primary waves, so let's say the waves are traveling in this direction, right? So primary waves are the waves uh, which are in violet color. So they travel in all the mediums, they're traveling through solid also, they're traveling through liquid also. This is the liquid outer core. So they travel through all the mediums. On the other hand, the secondary waves, which are green in color, they stop at the liquid outer core, right? Because they can travel only through the solids. तो इसीलिए उसके आगे ये travel नहीं कर पाती हैं. So that is why, what is the epicenter, ये कहाँ तक जाती हैं इनकी waves? तो जो primary waves हैं वो तो पूरे globe में traverse कर जाएंगी, in every direction. But secondary waves जो हैं ये outer core से टकरा के बाहर की तरफ चली जाती हैं. So secondary waves reach till here, but secondary waves इससे आगे नहीं जा सकती हैं. So liquid or any other form, let's say, वहाँ से secondary waves travel नहीं कर सकती हैं. This is also a way for the geologists to study the interior of the earth, that secondary waves do not travel through these mediums. And it is actually the secondary waves that do all the damage. Now, how do we get to know that this kind of a damage has happened? There are various instruments through which we measure the intensity and magnitude of an earthquake. To measure the intensity of an earthquake, seismograph is used. So as you can see, this is a seismograph, and very interestingly, now that we have understood what primary and secondary waves are, this is a P wave. The first P wave, which is like really mild, but it comes first because they are fast. On the other hand, the secondary waves cause the actual destruction, but they travel a bit slower, and they travel only through the solids. So primary waves are recorded first, secondary waves are recorded later on, and this shows the intensity of the earthquake. Then the magnitude of the earthquake is measured on Richter scale. So intensity is different, magnitude is different. One measures the energy released and one measures the destruction caused. These are two different things. So if we talk about the magnitude, ये Richter scale पे measure होता है जो कि 0 से 9 तक जाती है. And interestingly, हर एक point बढ़ने से 10 times का फर्क पड़ता है, right? For example, the difference between an earthquake of 6 magnitude and 7 magnitude is actually 10 times. It is not one time, it's 10 times. तो मतलब 7 to 8 भी फिर 10 times है. So 6 और 8 में जो actual gap है, that is actually 100 times magnitude difference. That should give you a fair idea of how quickly the bar gets raised. So it is not a 20 time gap, it's a 100 time gap. That is really, really important. और ये जो टर्की में earthquake आया है, this was a strong earthquake. Then there is this concept of ring of fire as well, because of this is general concept that there is this particular zone on the globe where the intensity and the frequency of earthquakes as well as volcanoes is the most, because earthquake phenomena includes the rubbing of plates against each other. These plates like African plate, Pacific plate, Indian plate, and all these plates. So when they rub against each other, that leads to the generation of earthquake waves. And as far as this phenomenon is concerned, the Pacific region is most prone to having an earthquake. So if you look at this diagram, this is the Pacific Ocean. So this is North America, this is South America, this is Asia, and this is Australia. So this entire region, as you can see, is known as the Pacific Ring of Fire, because this is the most active region in the world as far as volcanoes and earthquakes are concerned. It is not ये वाला वो रीजन नहीं है जहाँ पे टर्की अर्थक्वेक आया है. दैट इज वेस्ट एशिया विच इज टू द वेस्ट ऑफ दिस. But I'm just taking this concept to tell you that this is how earthquakes happen, and this is the area which is most infamous for having those earthquakes. For example, here you have Japan. So here you have Japan. So this Japan trench, so this area lies on the Pacific Ring of Fire, and that is the reason why most number of tsunamis, earthquakes happen in Japan. Japan has always faced the worst of the natural disasters, and the reason is that it lies on the Ring of Fire. Right? So that is about the Turkey earthquake, how earthquake happens, the different waves of an earthquake, Richter scale, seismograph, and the Pacific Ring of Fire. I hope you understood whatever we have discussed. If you have any questions or if you have any suggestions, do let us know in the comment section. That is all. Thank you so much and take care.